All right, we are back for vlog 83. Walking over here to Peppermill Reno. After our first vlog, we had a big win. Our second vlog back, a big loss. And our third vlog back, well, it looked like it was going to be a big loss, but it ended up being a small win. I definitely haven't had much of a problem in terms of getting action in these five-handed poker games. That is not proven difficult. It's almost been a question of me underestimating just how wide certain opponents are willing to call. But that's a good problem to have when you think about it. By the way, I'm heading down to Vegas. At least that is the plan. On the third week of July, I think July 13th, 14th, and 15th, right around there, I'll be down there. So maybe I will see some of you. I'm going to shoot several segments for Silver State Sites and hopefully get a couple of sessions of poker in. But let's turn to the task at hand. I'm going to throw on a mask and jump in some single blind $5 no limit hold'em here at Peppermill Reno. So I show up to the poker room on a Friday afternoon to find two five-handed single $5 blind games going on. There would be two more added later on that evening. After about a half an hour of a wait, I do get into a game. The first hand of note comes when we get a limp from the cutoff, and I have pocket queens in the big blind and raise to 20. The cutoff calls, so with 40 in, it comes ace, 7 deuce, rainbow, and goes check, check. The turn comes a 4. I bet 15, and he says out loud that it's suspicious that I bet that little, and he calls.
That's suspicious.
So with 70 in, the river is another deuce. I bet 20. And he then raises me to 60. Generally speaking, when you get speeches like the one I just mentioned in the middle of a hand, it's often signs of strength, sometimes extreme weakness too, but in this case, since he's actually then going to raise me on an ace-high board, I opted for the fold. Later on, we get a limp, and I have king 6 of spades in the big blind and check. The flop is ace jack 8 all spades. He acts upset, and this is a very angry man in general. Probably the angriest poker player that I've ever seen in my life. Probably because he chain smokes cigarettes all day. Anyway, I check, and he bets 10. I then check raise to 35. And he somewhat angrily makes it 100 more. So I then put him all in for his last $120. You would think he would snap call, having already put a half his stack in there, but he doesn't. He thinks about it for a second and then calls. And I show my cards before the board runs out, and he mucks his hand before the cards even run out, obviously indicating that he was drawing dead, and he then storms out of the poker room in a bitter rage to, yes, go chain smoke some more. We get a raise to 15 from a very aggressive older guy who has already had a few drinks in the cutoff. The button calls, and I have 9-7 offsuit in the big blind, and I call 10 more. So with 45 in, it comes 7-8 deuce with 2 clubs, giving me middle pair. I check, the cutoff bets 30, and the button folds. I call, so with 105 in, it turns an offsuit jack, improving my draw to the open-ended variety. I check, and the cutoff, who could have anything here, bets 50, and I decide to check call. So with 205 in, the river is the 10 of diamonds, giving me the straight. Now, I was never convinced that he had anything here, but I still felt it better to lead out, as if he actually did have something, he would never fold to me. So I bet 125, and he raises to 300. I obviously can never fold here, and not re-raise either. So I make the call, and he shows ace-9 offsuit, proving that I was indeed ahead with my pair of sevens. After that, I change tables and pick up ace jack of diamonds in the hijack and make it 15. The button calls, as does the big blind, so with 45 in, it comes ace king 10 with 2 hearts. It gets checked to me, and I bet 30. The button folds, and the blind calls, so with 105 in, the turn is an offsuit 7. He checks, and I still feel I got a bet here, making it 40. And he makes the call. So, with 185 in, we go to a river, which comes an offsuit queen, giving me the absolute nuts. He checks, and I size way down here, betting only $50, so his one pair hands might have a chance to hero call me, and his missed flush draws can possibly consider a bluff raise. So I make the bet, and he raises me to 125. Now he has about 300 behind, and I then made a terrible mistake. And I'm not too big to admit it, because I've talked about this before. I end up deciding to shove all in here, which in hindsight is just really stupid, because a raise here, I feel, must be a very small raise, because it is so tough to get action on a raise from any weaker hands here with the one-liner out there. And obviously, when you're chopping, it doesn't matter anyway. So he folds pretty quickly. I don't think he actually had a hand here at all. But I still feel that I made a pretty bad mistake, and one that you should try not to make. Next hand we get 2 limps, and I raise to 30 with ace-queen on the button and get 2 calls. So with 95 in, the flop is king-9 deuce 2 hearts, and it gets checked around. The turn's another 9, and again, it gets checked to me. Now I firmly believe that my hand is good here, given the players in the hand and the run out. So I bet $10, an ace-queen high-value bet for $10.
Pretty thin, huh?
That goes back to the previous concept of always wanting to bet an amount that can give weaker hands a chance to call. Both guys ultimately do call. So with 125 in, the river's an offsuit 3. The big blind checks, and under the gun now bets out for 15. I felt my hand was good on the turn, which is why I bet, and I still feel it's probably good here a lot of the time. So I make the call with ace-queen high. The big blind folds, and we have a $155 pot, and he says, ace high, showing ace-9 offsuit. He then called me a calling machine, which was kind of funny. And my question in my head was, didn't you call me on the turn with nothing? Next hand comes when I raise over a limp to 25 with ace-king of clubs. The flop comes 9-5-3 with 2 diamonds and 1 club. I bet 55 and get check raised to 125, and I fold. I ask him if he has 5-3, and he shows that he does.
You got 5-3?
After that, things did not go well for me for the next 3 hours. Hardly won any hands, and my stack began to shrink. But things would turn around, and they would turn around quickly. It started when we got a limp, and I was on the button with ace-king. I raise it up and ultimately get a call. The flop comes out king-king-8 rainbow, and it gets checked to me, and I decide to slow play it. The turn is a jack, and it gets checked to me again. This time I make the bet, and I get called. The river was not a great card for me, but I got paid off anyway, and my comeback began. We get a $15 straddle on, and I pick up 9-10 of clubs on the button, and I look to squeeze. I make it 45. The big blind, who will be involved in this hand and the next hand, makes it 125. It folds back to me, and I could go either way here, but playing 1,000 effective and having a belief for several reasons that he'd be pretty wide here, I decided to make the call. So with 265 in, it comes Jack 9-3 with 1 club, and to my surprise, he checks. I found that odd. But I see no point in betting here, because either my 9s are good, or he's trapping me. So I decide to check back, and the turn is an 8. So I add a straight draw. Now he bets 150. And I feel pretty good about my hand here, though I do think if he flopped 3 jacks, he probably would check that flop. But that aside, I make the call. With 565 in, the river is a 10, giving me 2 pair. And now he bets again, making it 300. Now my initial read on this bet was that it was 3 jacks or nothing a lot of the time. And I have history with this player, so I have reason to believe that outside of the simple fact that that's just how a lot of people play. So, despite me drilling that river, I opted to not raise here. We have an $1,165 pot. I make the call and he shows pocket queens, so I was surprised. And I must say, I have to give him credit for taking that line because it definitely threw me off. And he watches this vlog, and I think he was able to figure out that it would throw me off. But I ended up getting lucky on him. So next hand, the $10 straddle's on the button, and I have pocket 7s in the cutoff. Under the gun limps, and the hijack calls. Now I just call, expecting the button straddle to raise, which he does, making it 35 more. As you might expect, everybody calls. So we're 4 ways to a flop with $200 in, and it comes 10-7-5. 2 diamonds, middle set for me. Now despite the fact the button was likely to always bet here, Under the Gun decides to donk lead for 50. The hijack folds, and I smooth call, hoping that I would get a raise out of the button. That doesn't happen here, but we do get a call from him. So with 350 in, we go 3 ways to a turn of the 3 of hearts. And now, Under the Gun checks. I definitely have to bet here, so I make it 125. And the button, who I still think might raise here, doesn't. He makes the call. Under the Gun, the flop donk leader tanks and folds, as I expected him to. So with 600 in, the river is an offsuit 9. And I bet $180, looking to get paid off from his 1 pair hands. Sure enough, he snap calls, and I'm good. I never went on to see what he had, but obviously that hand worked out quite well for me. I play for about another hour and a half, rack up, cash out, and book a $645 win. For the second straight week, we turn what looked to be a loss into a win.